I tried to save my neighbors from a fire, but I should have let them burn. The first thing you notice when someone sells their soul isn't the screaming. It's the silence that comes after. I learned that twice. The first time was on the highway. I was driving home from a double shift, the sky that bruised purple just before dawn. Then I saw the lights. Not flashing reds and blues, not yet. Just a single, strobing pillar of orange that pulsed against the dark like a sick heartbeat. An old Jaguar, the kind of car you only see in movies, was accordioned around the front of a minivan. The Jag was the source of the fire, but it wasn't a normal fire. It didn't roar and billow black smoke. It burned clean and white hot, a silent, perfect column of destruction. The heat warped the air, made the world shimmer. The highway was dead empty. Just me, the burning cars, and the crooked shapes I could barely make out inside the minivan. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers thick and stupid. As I slowed the car, the crunch of glass under my tires sounded like chewing bones. That's when I heard it. Not a scream or a cry for help. It was a whisper, carried on the heat haze. A single sibilant word that sounded like a name, but one my tongue couldn't form. My hands shook as I told the 911 operator where I was. Just past exit 31. You need to hurry, I said, my voice thin. The fire in my rearview mirror wasn't getting smaller. It was getting brighter. Something's wrong. I hung up and drove, a cold sweat pasting my shirt to my skin. I prayed for them. The next morning, the news said everyone died on impact. They said there was no way anyone could have made a sound. But I heard it. You're probably thinking all the same things I did later that week as I stood on the lawn watching the Volkov house burn. You're the only one here. You have to be a hero. It's the right place, the right time. God put you here for a reason. I hear those arguments in my sleep. But I have a new one now, one I pieced together from ash and terror. There's no such thing as coincidence, that much is true. But what if you're not meant to be the hero? What if you're just in the wrong fucking place at the worst possible time? What if some things are supposed to burn, and you're just a field mouse that slipped into the abattoir when the blades started to fall? What if God just looks away sometimes? The Volkovs lived down the street, Alexei and Irina and their 2 kids. They were perfect, too perfect. The kind of family you see in a stock photo. He was handsome, she was beautiful, the kids were polite. Their lawn was always green, their cars always clean. It was unnatural. The night it happened, I woke up choking. The air in my room was thick, heavy. Something was fundamentally wrong with the world. You know that feeling in an empty mall after closing? That deep, silent wrongness of a place not being used how it should. It was like that, but it was everywhere. I rolled over to check my phone. The screen glowed with an impossible time, 3:71 a.m. I stared at it until the numbers burned into my retinas. Downstairs, the old grandfather clock my dad loved was broken. The pendulum wasn't swinging back and forth. It was swinging side to side, a frantic, silent metronome counting down to nothing. It wasn't electric. Beside it, the orchids my mom had spent months nurturing were dead, not wilted. They were black, brittle husks that crumbled into dust when I touched a petal. I stepped onto the porch. The air was cold, still. Up and down the street, every single porch light was out. The sky was a solid sheet of black. No moon, no stars, no ambient glow from the city. Just a profound, suffocating emptiness. Then came the hum. A low, resonant thrumming that vibrated up through the soles of my feet. It came from around the bend, and with it, a faint, flickering glow. My brain screamed at me to go back inside, lock the door, and pretend this was a nightmare. But some stupid, primal curiosity took over. I thought if it was a dream, maybe I could be brave. That thought vanished when I rounded the corner and saw the Volkov house. The fire wasn't on the house, it was holding it. A single, intelligent ribbon of liquid gold was coiled around the top left window, the little girl's room. It wasn't spreading. It just pulsed, moving over itself in waves, containing its own heat. It looked like a predator waiting. The window it surrounded was a bright, searing portal, and I could see shadows moving inside. The heat hit me even from the street. It was a physical pressure that stole the air from my lungs. I tried my phone again. Dead. Not no signal. Just a black, lifeless screen. The whole time, the fire stayed put. Then, I blinked, and in that instant, whatever was holding it back let go. A woman's scream tore through the silence, and the entire second floor of the house vanished in a silent explosion of flame. It happened so fast. I ran, hammering on the neighbors' doors, screaming for help. Nothing. The houses were dark tombs. No lights flickered on. No dogs barked. It was just me and the inferno. I was alone. No one was coming. That's when the hero complex kicked in, a toxic flood of adrenaline and stupidity. I ran across the perfectly green lawn, up the steps, and into the burning house. The inside was cold. The air was still and quiet. Through the kitchen, I saw hanging pots, a child's drawing stuck to the fridge with a cartoon magnet, a bowl of fresh fruit on the counter. If I couldn't hear the screaming from upstairs, I would have sworn nothing was wrong. But the smell. It wasn't smoke. It was sulfur and ozone, the scent of a lightning strike mixed with something rotten. The screams guided me. They had warped from pain into a hysterical argument. I reached the bottom of the stairs and could make out Irina's voice. I told you I did. There's nothing left to. No. The children. You bastard. The words made no sense. I took the stairs 2 at a time, and then I froze. The upstairs hallway was a tunnel of roiling black smoke and orange light, and walking through it, towards me, was a figure made of fire. It wasn't solid. It was a man-shaped hole in the world, outlined in white-hot flame. You could see the wallpaper through its chest. It moved with a lurching limp, its limbs bending at impossible angles. With every step it took, it left a smoldering gouge in the hardwood floor. The heat that rolled off it was a living thing. It flash-fried the moisture from my eyes, and I felt my eyebrows crinkle and vanish in a puff of smoke. The moment it passed me and disappeared down the hall, Irina Volkov stumbled out of a doorway, chasing it. She was begging. No, wait, take the rest of me. He promised you the rest of me. I scrambled up the last few steps, crawling below the smoke. My eyes were streaming. Irina stood before an open door at the end of the hall. I tried to call to her, but my throat was full of ash. Irina, I choked out. She didn't move. Didn't even look at me. The hem of her nightgown caught fire, the flames racing up the fabric like it was soaked in gasoline. I crawled forward. Irina, we have to get the kids. You're on fire. She just stared into the room. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, she reached up, tangled her hands in her perfect blonde hair, and pulled. She tore chunks of it from her own scalp. The sound was like ripping old canvas. Bloody knots of hair fell to her feet and were consumed by the fire. She didn't scream. She didn't even wince. As the skin on her legs began to crack like cooling glass, revealing a faint, pulsing light beneath, she let out a low moan. It wasn't a sound of pain. It was a sound of release, of ecstasy. She moaned and pulled and ripped until her scalp was a raw, bloody mess, and fire danced where her hair used to be. Then her hands fell to her sides. From the doorway she stared into, a hand emerged. It was skeletal, long, and wreathed in black embers. It reached for her, and she took it, and it pulled her into the room. The door slammed shut with the force of a bomb. The world went white. I woke up on the lawn, the night sky a blanket of silent black smoke. Someone was dragging me. It took a moment for my vision to clear. It was Alexei, but it wasn't him. His perfect hair was gone. His skin looked like melted wax poured over a skull. His eyes were boiled white, his lips burned away to reveal blackened gums. He was dragging me away from the collapsing house, his arms shaking. He was whispering, a prayer, the Lord's Prayer. But he kept getting the words wrong. Forgive me my debts, as I forgive those who trespass. Oh, Alexei. The voice wasn't in the air. It was inside my head, a cold, ancient weight that made my teeth ache, and lead me not into temptation. but deliver me." Alexei screamed at the sky, his voice a raw gargle. "You walked there yourself. Would you like me to show you the way back? For thine is the kingdom, you have chosen your kingdom. The power and the glory, forever and ever." Ever amen. I fell to the grass as Alexei collapsed to his knees. He sounded like a petulant child. "I gave you more," he wheezed. "I gave you everything. Do you offer him as well?" Alexei looked at me, his ruined face a mask of desperation. "Will it work? Will he be enough?" A pressure clamped down on my throat, cold and immense. I couldn't breathe. My vision tunneled. "It is your name on the ledger, Alexei Volkov. Your bloodline. The tithe was paid. The debt remains. They are waiting for you in the kiln. They are screaming your name." The pressure vanished. I gasped for air, watching through slitted eyes as Alexei got to his feet. He turned and walked back toward the fire that was eating his home. Something waited for him on the threshold. A tall, stooped shape made of hooks and living embers. It blew black smoke from unseen nostrils and dripped molten rock from a jaw full of sharp teeth. It held the door open for him. They stepped inside together, and the door shut behind them. There was nothing left. Not a floorboard, not a brick from the chimney. Just a perfect square patch of scorched black earth where the house used to be. The fire department called it a flash fire of unknown origin. The neighbors were relieved. Old Ms. Anya, who lived next door, had always hated the Volkovs. She'd accused them when her dog was found hanging from a tree, skinned clean. She said she heard them chanting at night. Now, she was out on the property line, humming an old folk tune and planting a new bed of roses. Across the street, the Millers were having a barbecue. The whole neighborhood was lighter, happier. They knew. They'd lived next to a rot, and now it was cut out. The smoke I breathed that night scarred my lungs. I don't feel young anymore. I feel like that mouse. Be careful when you try to save someone. Some people aren't drowning. They're anchors, and they will pull you all the way down into the dark with them.